the associated BPMs to all their partner agencies. Mr. President, I move this resolution.
We have a motion. Is there a second? We've got a second. Any discussion? Any discussion on soil disturbance? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries.
The threat to agriculture from invasive and non-noxious species. Page 18, we have some deleted language, and the bottom of the resolution on page 19, we have some new. The outbreak of spotted lanternfly has caused California to begin adoption of a rule to quarantine product from infested states unless the required photosanitary, I've practiced this before and I got it, but photosanitary requirements are met. This could impact commerce between states if more states follow California's actions, therefore necessitating the need for increased financial support and research to control of the pest. The New Jersey Department of Ag SLF control program is reliant solely on federal funds. New Jersey Farm Bureau should support the continuation of increased funding to improve control of the invasive pest. Mr. President, I move this resolution.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Lots of seconds. Any discussion? I'm going to ask a question if I can jump in. Has anybody not seen a spotted lanternfly? That's kind of what I thought. What do you say? Today, yeah. I know it's in every part of the state. I would just want to take a friendly poll. Okay, so any other discussion? Yes, Shannon.
It's just it's Shannon Euler, wife in our Somerset County. Just, should it be product from or product form?
From. I should have pointed that out at the beginning, ladies and gentlemen. We will come across punctuation errors, spelling errors from time to time. We do clean that up when we go through the policy book again after the convention. So if you see something that's really bad, bring it to our attention. But if it's an obvious misspelled word or punctuation, just let it go. We'll clean it up later. So, but thank you, Shannon. So I'm sorry, we got to go back to the resolution as a whole. All those in favor of the resolution, say aye. Any opposed? Say nay. Motion carried.
Wildlife management, new language on page 20 at the top. Private lands like corporate parks, golf courses, etc., that serve as deer refuges also need to participate in deer management activities. On page 21, bullet points. Renew the focus on antlerless harvest and a reinstatement of earn a buck in problem areas, and encourage the Fish and Game Council to consider requiring the harvest of multiple antlerless deer in the areas suffering from the most damage. Continue support for funding for venison donation programs. Address the need for more butchers and meat processing facilities in New Jersey to handle the increases in venison donations. And consider amending the Farmland Assessment Act to require deer management planning on all properties in order to qualify for the assessment. Page 22, under the black bears. The lapsing of New Jersey's comprehensive black bear management plan effectively ends all recreational black bear hunting after 2020. This complete absence of population management will lead to an increase in black bear populations and human bear conflicts that can be not only damaging to agriculture, but dangerous to our residents in general. The Division of Fish and Wildlife and the Fish and Game Council must work with the DEP Commissioner to develop and adopt a new comprehensive plan. On top of page 23, black vultures and crow-nosed rays often cause problems for livestock producers. There should be control programs in place for these species. Mr. President, I move this resolution.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Got a second? Any discussion? Yes, Ned, stand up so they can find you.
Thank you. Ned Dane, Atlantic County. Top of page 23, second line. I'd like to change the words "there should be" to "New Jersey Farm Bureau shall encourage the division to investigate control program in place for these, a control program for these species."
Let Liz get that up on the screen and then we'll try it again.
New Jersey shall encourage the division to investigate a control program for these species.
That look right, Ed? Right. Okay, we have a motion to amend an amendment. No, the motion is the amendment. Is there a second? We got a second. Any discussion on the new wording in red? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Okay, the motion carries. Back to the resolution as a whole. Further discussion? Yeah. Just hang on a minute, Jeff.
Thanks, Ed. Jeff Bird, Mercer County. Last bullet point on page 21, consider amending the Farmland Assessment Act to require deer management planning on all properties in order to qualify for the assessment. I just think I do not agree with this. I think it's going to make things even more difficult for farmers to get farmland assessment. Enough farmers have problems with farmland assessment to begin with, between the paperwork and management and logistics. And I just would like to see that whole bullet point deleted, please. Thank you.
Okay, we got a motion to delete that bullet point. Is there a second? Okay, we've got a second. Any discussion on deleting that bullet point on requiring deer management on farmland assessment? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of deleting this language say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. I'm pretty sure the ayes have it. Okay, so that will be stricken. Now we go back to the resolution as a whole. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Now, minimum wage, labor supply and management, page 23 with no changes. And on page 24, new language starting out with COVID-19. The agriculture industry has endured a difficult season, starting with the unknown of labor supply, causing some growers to adopt to less labor for the season. Those farms that use labor had to implement extensive precautions to provide safe work environments for their employees. The New Jersey Department of Health, New Jersey Department of Labor, and the New Jersey Department of Agriculture recognized the potential risk with the farm labor housing, collaborated on creating guidelines for agricultural employers to help protect employees. These protections included voluntary COVID-19 testing for all agricultural workers administered by local federal qualified health centers. The agricultural industry was able to prevent the severe outbreak that were anticipated at the start of the season due to the communal housing utilized on many farms. The New Jersey Farm Bureau assisted in trying to make farms aware of the guidelines and encourage growers to make full precautions. Although the agricultural industry felt it was able to keep the outbreak within a reasonable number, some legislators felt the New Jersey Department of Health guidelines should be mandatory and lack of compliance should result in monetary violations. The New Jersey Farm Bureau feels the legislative bill A4404 and Senate 2602 goes beyond COVID-19 prevention and current guidelines mandated requirements that may not fit precautionary measures for future pandemics. The NJFB believes this legislation imposes stricter standards on agriculture employers than other business sectors and oppose the legislation without significant changes. New Jersey Farm Bureau believes the current Department of Health agricultural worker guidelines provided growers the ability to adjust their operations and implement the precautions as directed in the guidelines while improving safety precautions for their employees. The testing of workers became a forefront issue, even as many growers were not properly informed of the innovativity and why it was needed. When this became apparent, New Jersey Farm Bureau and the Department of Agriculture took an active role in researching out to employers regarding the availability of farm visits by FQHC. Growers were also encouraged to use the services of the FQHC to help educate their workers on COVID-19 and testing if needed. New Jersey Farm Bureau supports bills S-2596 and A-4505, which appropriates $5 million in federal funds to the Department of Health for grants and stipends to ensure health and safety of farm workers. This funding could help offset some of the expenses farms used to meet the COVID-19 guidelines and for funds needed for future safety measures. There's some deleted language at the bottom of the page, in the top of the second page, etc. Mr. President, I move this resolution.
We have a motion. Is there a second? There's a second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Let's get a mic up here for Gary, please.
We'd like some language.
Who are you?
I'm sorry.
Who are you?
Gary DeFelice, Monmouth County.
Thank you.
Sorry. We'd like some language included at the end. Increased payroll expenses negatively impacted the affordability of workmen's compensation for all farms in every commodity group. New Jersey Farm Bureau should advocate that the basis of workers' compensation premium should only include remuneration for actual labor. Any remuneration for earned sick leave, vacation, holidays, or bonuses should not be the basis of the premium and therefore help to offset insurance costs. We'd like to add this. That's a motion.
That's your motion. Is there a second? Again, to adding the wording in red. We got a second. Any discussion on the proposed amendment? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Okay, the motion carries. Now we go back to the resolution as a whole. Liz, anything else? Okay, just love surprises. The resolution as a whole. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Okay, the motion carries.
Trucking motor vehicle regulations, page 28, bottom. There is a need to review the current inability to register with Motor Vehicle Commission self-propelled sprayers that are used for hire. On page 29 at the top, the FMCSA made a formal announcement that sod is considered an agricultural commodity and qualifies for the EDL exemption. The FMCSA issued a rule to expand the definition of agricultural commodities that closed on July 2019, and no further action has occurred. There is still a need to expand the definition to include all horticultural commodities. Mr. President, I move this resolution.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Water quality regulation watershed planning issues on page 30. In the spring of 2020, 600 miles of river and streams were upgraded to Category 1 waterways, increasing protections to include a 300-foot buffer on all designated waterways. This was done through an amendment to the surface water quality standards that confines these new C1 streams and was published in the New Jersey Registry on April 6, 2020. In August 2020, Farm Bureau joined an appeal as an amicus party to challenge the DEP's April 2020 adoption of C1 streams upgrades. The rules prohibits development within 300-foot buffers on either side of the stream, some of which affects agricultural land. New Jersey Farm Bureau submitted written comments in 2019 expecting the newly protected waterways to grandfather existing agricultural practices that occur within the new buffer zones resulting from this expansion of delineated waterways. There's some deleted language on page 32. New Jersey PAC. Governor Murphy's Executive Order 100 directed New Jersey DEP to identify specific rules, guidance documents, and other regulatory mechanisms to revise by integrating climate change considerations. New Jersey PAC was created to address this targeted regulatory reform that will modernize the land use rules in New Jersey. This has the potential to include changes to DEP's Coastal Zone Management Rules, Freshwater Rules, Food Hazard Control Act rules, and any other regulation that addresses flooding and chronic inundation. Farm Bureau will continue to be active in monitoring this reform. New Jersey DEPs and farms. The New Jersey DEP's program protects New Jersey's ground and surface water quality by assuring the proper treatment and discharge of wastewater and its residuals and stormwater from various types of faculties and activities. To accomplish this, permits are issued limiting the mass and/or concentration of pollutants which may be discharged into groundwater, streams, rivers, and the ocean. The types of regulated faculties can range from very small users such as campgrounds, schools, and shopping centers to larger industrial and municipal wastewater discharges. A business or property gets pulled into the NJFB system when their septic system capacity exceeds 5 residential units of 2,000 gallons of wastewater. This has become a problem for both preserved and non-preserved farms that have added additional septic capacities either because of labor housing needs, existing septic systems, and additional septic systems for farm markets or food processing. The rules apply to single landowners or businesses and encompass all their holdings. Once the unit capacity is reached, the NJFB permit process begins. This is an expensive engineering and environmental impact process. Currently, the Department of Agriculture and the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection have been working on a process to simplify the filings for farms that reach these limits. This is especially necessary where preserved land is involved, as no further residential building opportunities exist. Farm Bureau shall encourage DEP to create a permit by rule for farm and farm businesses that face the need for the NJDPES permit. Mr. President, I move this resolution.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Multiple seconds. Any discussion? Ed, stand up so we can find you.
Ned Gain, Atlantic County, page 31, first paragraph. Barnegat Bay, and I'd like to remove the just recently, the Raritan River Basin in that statement. It's obviously not just recently anymore. Bottom of that page, I'll let her catch up. Sorry. Page 31, top of the page.
Whereabouts, Ned?
That's Barnegat Bay and just recently, right in the middle of the paragraph. Leave Barnegat Bay, take out the and just recently. Leave the Raritan River Basin.
It's just 3 words.
Yeah, just recently.
And just recently.
Thank you. Okay. Same page, second to last paragraph. Middle of the paragraph, sentence starting with depending. Right above you, it's top line of that screen. Depending in the middle of the paragraph. Yep, right there. Yeah, depending on the conditions of the rule, remove that whole sentence. It's effectively just the definition of a permit by rule. Correct.
Okay, anything further, Ned? All right, if you don't mind, I'd like to do these one at a time. Liz, let's go back to the first one where it was pretty basic, just cleaning up and taking out just recently. I think we could do that by consensus unless somebody has a real objection to that. So we're good with that. We'll do that by consensus. Okay, thank you. So that amendment is adopted. Now we'll go back down to the second to last paragraph on 31. There we go. In deleting this language. So we have a motion from Ned to delete this language. Is there a second? You got a second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of deleting this language? I'm sorry, we have one?
What are we trying to accomplish?
Ned,
Removing
can
of
you speak
language.
to that?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get rid of language in the whole document, honestly. It's a long document. Everywhere I can, whenever we come up with something, I'm trying to clean it out. This statement is just literally a long sentence that says the definition of permit by rule. And it's implied within the whole document on several occasions for this specific policy to do permit by rules. So it's just a lot of jargon for no reason.
Okay, any other discussion on the proposed amendment? Irv Hockenberry on this side, Ed.
There's 300 foot on either side of a little stream that flows maybe after hard rain or something, and there's
Irv,
dry.
hold on a minute.
What?
First, we got to take care of this amendment.
Okay.
So let's do that, and we'll come back to it. So any other discussion on the proposed amendment on the screen, deleting the language?
Are we then suggesting that we don't want a permit by rule?
Ned, you're proposing that it's duplicate language.
Where is it?
There are concerns, the paragraph above the last sentence, there are concerns about the application of this rule requirement for farm projects, especially for minor ones, for which a streamlined, less expensive, time-consuming kinds of regulations should be possible. That is a permit by rule. You know, and
Is that clear to everybody? And I think that this stormwater thing I see really percolating up now.
Hold on, Kurt, we got a
Yep,
mic.
thank you. I see stormwater rules really starting to percolate up. If there's any one thing I see coming before Highlands in the last year, it's stormwater regs. If there's anything that I'm experiencing more as a grower now, it's stormwater regs. If there's anything I hear more and more engineers saying, hey, Kurt, what's going on with stormwater applicability to ag? Where is ag exempt, where it's not? This thing is like full speed ahead, and if it hasn't met you at your farm, it's going to soon. And I think that the more we can do to ensure that we have provisions that we can get things done with permit by rule, the better it is for the industry. So I don't want to wordsmith you to death, but I think we with municipal review, with municipal engineers, and every engineer has a different opinion right now. There is no consensus as to how these things should be applied to farms. And if Monique were here, she would tell you that the language is very vague when it comes to agriculture. So we're subject to the vagaries of all these different interpretations. And so that's why we're trying step by step to get a little incremental improvement with permit by rules, whether it's for stormwater or later on we talk about new gypsies. So that's all I want to caution, is that we don't want to dismiss the importance of permit by rule.
Thank you.
I don't disagree with that statement. I think that you should then include in the policy that we are encouraging more adoption of permit by rule, but that's not what this statement says. This statement just defines what a permit by rule is. If we would like to include permit by rule, I was considering and putting it into the motion of the statement above, saying including the adoption of more permit by rules. But this sentence doesn't say that. And I wouldn't mind putting that in if that's a motion you'd like to do. But this isn't even encouraging permit by rule. This just tells you what a permit by rule is.
Any other discussion on the proposed amendment to delete this language? Okay, seeing none, again, this is just on this amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. I'm pretty sure that's a no. So the wording stays in. Now back to the resolution as a whole. Any other further discussion? Yes, Nicole, stand up and tell us who you are.
Nicole Moak, Morris County. Going what this gentleman was just saying on that line, if we were to change, so depending on the conditions of the rule, if we change could to should, shall, that would maybe make the statement less neutral.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on? Yeah. And take out could and put in shall. There we go. Any discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Come on, guys, wake up. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Now we're back to the amendment as a whole. I'm sorry, the resolution as a whole. Irv Hockenberry.
This 300 foot ought to be beside a little place that runs the water once or twice a year, maybe 3 times as last year, but 300 feet, that goes through me, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 feet. So just think of the land that it takes away from my farming abilities.
No, that's why we're opposed to it.
What?
That's why we're opposed to the 300-foot buffer.
Yeah. So I don't have any wording or anything. I just protesting.
Any other discussion on the resolution as a whole? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, next up, water supply on page 33. There's no new language on page 34. The New Jersey DEP, in an effort to address the concerns regarding water usage reporting, the New Jersey Department of Ag, NRCS, and Rutgers Extension are successful in acquiring farms willing to meter their water usage for the study. Further down, the program unfortunately has experienced delays because of COVID-19, and we're not able to install the meters before the growing season. The plan is to amend the grant and conduct the study in 2021. Mr. President, I move this resolution.
We have a motion. Is there a second? A second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The New Jersey Agricultural Experiment Station and the commitment to production agriculture. Page 35. On page 36, we have some updates and new language. The Farm Bureau is encouraged by the appropriation of a supplemental $3 million in the fiscal 2021 state appropriation budget for general NJAES needs, as well as the $95,000 in additional funds for the Equine Center. Bottom of the page, during the past year, NJAES experienced significant transition in its leadership with the retirement of Executive Dean Dr. Bob Goodman and Research Director Dr. Brad Hillman. New Jersey Farm Bureau welcomes the succession of their replacements, Interim Dean Dr. Laura Lawson and Research Director Dr. Wendy Kohick. Together with Extension Director Dr. Brian Schilling, this leadership at the New Jersey Ag Experiment Station weathered a fierce storm of budget cuts and other adjustments during the past year brought about by the coronavirus pandemic. We applaud them for keeping their balance and maintaining the continuity of the services during these past strenuous months. Farm Bureau is pleased with the outcome of the state budget for October 2020 to June 30th, 2021, given the extraordinary circumstances of the pandemic. Thanks to the support of the legislator and the Murphy administration. We look forward to working with the Board of Managers toward the implementation of services in production agriculture. Mr. President, I move this resolution.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Pat Butch.
Pat Butch, Monmouth County. Also president of the Board of Managers for the NJAES. We worked on updating some of the verbiage on this amendment. The first is in the second paragraph. We wish to change the sentence that starts, New Jersey Farm Bureau shall continue to advocate to the leadership at NJAES. We took out SEBS because it's really the New Jersey Ag Experiment Station, that they must continue to grow the focus of the unique land grant research and extension program that has historically promoted great agricultural production efficiencies, and that will plan for the capacity needed to meet future mission-aligned program needs to take place, keeping production ahead of population growth, developing new innovations and value-added products, and providing for a better standard of living for society as a whole. We just felt that was more reflective of what is currently happening. Do you want me to go one at a time, or should I continue?
Keep going.
Keep going? Okay, in the next paragraph, we have added some language and also taken some out. New Jersey Farm Bureau and the ag community are deeply concerned about future attrition of expertise and experience as many of our most valued agricultural agents and specialists become eligible for retirement in the next few years. In the past, a significant number of retirements without hiring replacements have negatively impacted the delivery of critical agricultural programs across the state. Deleting, furthermore, once a position is identified for hire, it takes upwards of 2 years to fill the position. That's no longer the case, thankfully. New Jersey Farm Bureau shall encourage the NJAES, took out SEBS, leadership to initiate the search process once a retirement is announced, thus expediting the process to ensure a smooth transition. We are no longer necessarily hiring one ag agent for one ag agent retired. In some cases, it has become 1.5 hires for one retirement, or sometimes realignment of the job descriptions.
Okay, so you're making this.
So
verbiage-
that's that one. You want me to keep going?
Yeah, well, let's do this one.
Okay.
The changes that Pat pointed out, which would be some deleted language and added the language in red. That's a motion. Is there a second? We've got a second. Any discussion on this amendment? She knows what she's talking about. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion, the amendment carries. Keep going, Pat.
Okay, I also want to back up. I did not mention the fact that we've deleted some additional language in the beginning of the second paragraph. Ag agents in particular are facing increased pressure to take on research responsibilities once held by specialists and teaching that take away from their fundamental extension outreach educational programs. So there is less time for agents to make farm visits and keep abreast of what is happening in production agriculture. That is also something that is minimal at this time, and much of the research that ag agents are taking on is applied research. It's different from specialist research.
Well, since we didn't include that on the first motion, we got to do it now.
Okay.
So that's a motion to delete that language, and you heard why. Is there a second? Okay. Any discussion on just deleting that first line in that paragraph? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Okay, that amendment carries.
Okay, last paragraph. There are applied research areas which were covered by specialists in the past and are not covered now, yet they are sorely needed by production agriculture. Though some process has been made, there continues to be shifts in personnel where a highly effective extension specialist has retired and a replacement has not been recruited to address industry needs. That's it in that paragraph.
Okay, I think we can.
Want to go on?
We can do that one by consent. I think that's a simple.
All right, the next paragraph has only one added word. And it starts in the sentence that starts with research happens in areas where grant money can be found rather than originating from production agricultural needs.
Okay.
Okay. Want me to keep going? We've added a whole paragraph here.
I see that. Well, first, I just want to back up a little bit, Liz. I just wanted to say by consent, just the two-word change there from stepped up to been recruited. I think we can do that by consent unless there's an objection. Okay, so we'll consider that amendment passed. All right, Pat, go ahead.
Okay, an entire paragraph that has been added. New Jersey Farm Bureau shall continue to work with the Board of Managers to educate the governor and the legislature about the value of the land grant system and the diverse range of research, extension, and educational programs that serve the people of New Jersey and the urban, suburban, and rural communities. The cooperative extension offices in the counties, along with the New Brunswick-based NJAES centers and institutes, and its 17 statewide off-campus research stations, comprise the backbone of the delivery system of valuable programs to all residents of New Jersey.
Okay, so that's a motion.
That's a motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this paragraph, adding this paragraph? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Okay, the motion carries.
Okay, next paragraph addition. New Jersey Farm Bureau supports the NJAES administrator's announcement that most of this additional funding, this is referring to the paragraph before, which is the supplemental funding from the state. Most of this additional funding will be devoted to production agricultural interests in the form of infrastructure improvements, research farm facilities, equipment, etc. Building upon these recent and much-needed state reinvestments in NJAES, NJFB will support the experiment station's ambitious 5-year investment plan to further vitalize its outlying stations in support of agriculture, aquaculture, climate-related, and resource conservation programs, the nexus of food and wellness, and other strategic focused areas aligned with the NJAES research farms and facilities as premier points of research, innovation, and demonstration and extension programming. Farm Bureau also encourages NJAES administrators to heed specific Board of Managers recommendations on the use of these funds for priority programs needed by the agricultural community, for example, wildlife management, IPM, etc. At the same time, supplemental or special purpose state appropriations, while vital for making needed capital investments at the experiment station, cannot be used for hiring faculty and permanent staff. We therefore strongly urge the State Board of Agriculture, New Jersey Agriculture Experiment Station Board of Managers, the County Boards of Agriculture to join Farm Bureau's efforts to work with the governor, the legislature, and the county boards of chosen freeholders to increase the base budget of the NJAES and provide a higher level of stable state funding in order to support the staffing needed to fill existing program gaps and plan for future program needs across the state that fall within NJAES research and extension mission areas.
Is that all?
That's it till we get to the next deletion. We reworked this. This resolution tended to, as you read it from the outside and not someone who was living it, it was tending to be negative and gave the impression that we all weren't working together, and that is certainly not the case today. With the administration and the Board of Managers are doing wonderful things right now to make the system work for the best betterment of the industry. So we want to reflect that in this.
So we've got a motion on the new wording. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Yes, Frank Wasovich. Hang on a minute, Frank.
Do we need to change chosen freeholders to the new term that's being used?
Good point. We could do that. If they're commissioners now, aren't they, Frank?
I don't know the right term, Pete.
I think
Instead of
it's
chosen
commissioners.
freeholders.
It's commissioners,
Okay.
but I'm not sure if it's county commissioners.
Well, I think we can clean that up.
If you can find out.
We'll clean that up.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Yeah, Bob Fenton.
Thank you. Yeah, it's Robert Fenton from Atlantic County, and I was on the Board of Managers, and I couldn't take it. I felt like we were being pulled around by the nose by the Rutgers people, and I commend this Board of Managers. They've done great work over the last 2-3 years, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion on this amendment? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. I'm sorry, did I miss somebody? Yep, I'm sorry. Hold on to that vote yet.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Tim Bourgeois. I'm from Middlesex County. I currently work for the experiment station at Horticulture Farm 3. And if you've never heard of Hort Farm 3, there's good reason for that. The facility was in very dire need of upgrades to just about every system. In the last 3 years, we fixed a lot of that. We've spent a lot of money. There's still a lot of work to do. So please support the Board of Managers and any other legislation that you can to make sure we have the funds that we need to have the facility that's ready for the 21st century for all of us. So I just wanted to put in my 2 cents. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go back. We had a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If I don't see you, just holler it out. You know, I'm good, but I'm not that good. So, yeah, as soon as Ed says stand up, and I'll be able to find you. All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the new wording Pat proposed, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carried.
Okay, I think that I can do the next, I think, in one shot. That'll finish this one. We're supporting some deletion of language in the next paragraph. Financial support from county freeholders is an indispensable source of funding for cooperative extension with farmers truly appreciate. And then deletion of the rest of the paragraph. And then the only other change that we are proposing is we cleaned up. First of all, we added Peggy Brennan. Dr. Peggy Brennan is definitely has been appointed as well as administrator of the experiment station. She is, when Brad Hillman but retired with quotes around it, since he's still teaching, but he retired from this position. They actually split the position into two and hired two people. And so we also cleaned up some of the titles of the people that were hired. So that basically is the changes in that last paragraph.
Okay, so we can take these two together. We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion on the deleted language and just the correction of the hire of Dr. Brennan? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, now we're back to the resolution as a whole. Is there any further discussion? Jim Etch in the back, stand up so I can see.
Jim Etch, Middlesex County. You missed me on the First Amendment, so I'm going to go back to that. I would just like to reintroduce the paragraph where it says New Jersey Farm Bureau shall continue to advocate the leadership of NJAES. I would like to leave in SEBS only because we have to get to the youth and the teachers and professors who are not associated with ag of the uniqueness of the experiment station. We have to keep our face in front of the people that are non-ag also.
All right, so your motion is to reinstitute SEBS, School of Environmental and Biological Sciences, throughout the resolution. Just that one paragraph, okay? Just the one paragraph. That's a motion. Is there a second? Okay, we got a second. Any discussion? Pat?
I don't think I need a microphone. I think I can do this without it. The only reason that we took it out is because this resolution is Jersey Ag Experiment Station does not contain investment reference. I don't disagree with Jim. I think his point is well taken. It's just that when I was working with others with this, especially Brian comment, it just didn't include sets in the resolution by title.
I don't think it needs to be.
I don't know. I agree with your point.
Okay, any other discussion on the proposed amendment to put SCBS back in?
In one place.
In one place. All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, again, back to the resolution as a whole. Anything further? Ned?
Ned Gain, Atlantic County. I'm not going to make a motion. I just want to bring this up a point of clarity here. Throughout all the amendments that Ms. Butch made and throughout this whole policy statement, everything we just talked about is policy. But the actual original additions here, the last two paragraphs, is actually not a policy statement. It's just a statement. It's just saying how much we like these people. I mean, I think we can all agree on that, but that's something that the directors just need to do as a statement. This is not something we give to Farm Bureau as a policy statement that we are happy and we look forward to working with. I mean, those are just straight statements. And I think we should try to focus this whole policy document on the policies of Farm Bureau and not just blank statements.
Thank you. Anything further on the amendment as a whole? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, the motion carries. With that, we are running late. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna take a break now. We should have done it a little while ago, but I have 10:41 on my watch. Can we be back in here at 10:55? It gives you 14 minutes to stretch your legs, walk outside, take your mask off, breathe a little bit, run to the men's room, ladies' room, whatever you need to do, refresh your coffee or whatever, and come back in. Can we do that? Everybody got a watch? Can we be back here in 14 minutes? Everybody say yes. All right. Thank you. All right. Let's take a break.
get them kick in the business session.
Well, that's what I'm trying to decide now. What's the advantage of doing it in the middle?
People go home at lunch and they don't have a point.
Okay.
So if you don't have enough time, it's easier to conclude with your resolutions.
All right. And Blake's coming at 11:30. So we start at 5:00.
The Blake thing, the financial, is not essential business. According to the bylaws. It's way more. Essential things are election, resolutions. So the temptation is just to keep going with the resolution and then have a business session hang, knock out your business session, then reconvene your resolutions. And if we spill over to the
That's right. It's switching it up isn't a hardship. I just wanted to think it through.
get your essential business done, you just don't know. You've got your good quorum call hanging to the punch it. New cultural.
Tara's looking for a load of hay, so if you want to squeeze that in today and around things, go right ahead. Yeah, but also wrap the willow tree. We have a couple of those pipes yet. And let's wrap the tree. Is the tree gonna live? All right, I'll probably see you late. I'll let you know. Hey, Lou. Each point, pull you up. Yeah, I haven't sat here since. You hate that?
Drinking that damn cranberry juice. I like it, but man, it doesn't help keep the palate wet at all. Or,
Probably not these girls here.
Okay, everybody, let's find your seats, please. We're already over by 1 minute. Hey, Jeff Bird, find your seat. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to switch things up a little bit from your agenda. Before we're going to take a break before we get back to resolutions. We have a short video from Secretary Fisher, and then we're going to do our business session. This is a little different than years past, but all this is a little different from years past. We'll get our business session done, and then we'll go back to resolutions if we have time. If not, then we're going to go right to finances with John Blake before we get into lunch. But before we go on Secretary Fisher, everybody got one of these? Everybody knows what it is? It goes under your mask to help you breathe better. If you didn't know, that's what these things are all about. And we paid for these, so either use them or give them to somebody who will. So I don't even know what the name of these things are. Anybody know? That man gets to live with Carolyn Etch. Okay, with that, let's get back to business. Liz, we ready for Secretary Fisher? Okay, hit it.
This is Secretary. I just wanted to say that I know that this is an annual meeting that you never could have envisioned for 2020, but we're here. It's been a difficult and challenging year. As we move into winter, it presents a lot of consternation for 2021. In the spring of 2020, farmers in New Jersey, even faced with all the uncertainties, forged ahead and planted in spring and moved forward, finding alternatives to solutions to get product to market and to the consuming public. And that's a tribute to all our farmers in the state. People now more than ever in recent times have a greater appreciation for agriculture in all its ways, that farms have produced products in all sectors, spaces, and places for our collective well-being. Yes, we've had low spots and we've had some bright spots, But through it all, agriculture has been amazing in its ability to adapt and even flourish. As I said, this convention is not the one that you expected, but it is so important. And I applaud your directors and staff for continuing on with this format to adopt positions on any number of topics: large-scale solar, soil protection, special occasion events, farm labor, animal control, pesticide use, home-baked goods, and so much more. The department and our dedicated and talented staff stand ready each week to work through these issues together with Reich and the board, Pete and staff, and the cooperation has been extraordinary. So when ag lines up in unison, there is so much more that we can accomplish. So let's stay on that path. And I look forward to the deliberations and resolutions coming out of today's meeting. And as I said, working together collectively. So have a great convention day, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.
As I say, I get to talk to Doug quite often, and sometimes he's in Trenton, sometimes he's at home, but we managed to get things done, like you said. So I appreciate the relationship he and I have, as well as the department and all of Farm Bureau. So, as I say, we're going to switch this up a little bit. So if you go to the right side of your agenda, we're going to go to the business session before we go back to resolutions. But we can dispense with the roll call because we did it this morning. I think we got that done right. We need an approval of the minutes of the 2019. Leave that up to Lou? Okay. What I'll do is I'm going to transfer the mic over to Lou Goldshore. He is our general counsel. He keeps us out of trouble. And I'll let him run this part of the meeting. Lou? Anywhere you want. You want this? Good.
Well, in your packet, there should be the minutes of the 2019 annual meeting, and we need a motion to adopt that. Do we have a second? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Hearing none. The motion carries, and the minutes of the 2019 annual meeting are approved. The next order of business is the general counsel's report. I usually precede this. Kirk usually makes me tell a lawyer joke. This year it's a joint effort. It's my wife and I came up with the lawyer joke this year because I told her the one that I was planning to use, and she told me to forget about it. So here goes, and if you don't like it, I'll give you her email and you can complain to her. A lawyer is meeting with a client of his who's been accused of a serious crime. So what the lawyer does is he tells his client he met with the prosecutor and he has some good news and some bad news for his client. Sort of like on one hand this and one hand that. And the client says, well, I guess I should hear the bad news first. And the lawyer tells him that the lab results came in and the client's DNA and blood are all over the crime scene. So the client says, so what's the good news? And the lawyer looks at him and he says, your cholesterol levels were very low. Okay, well, I'll keep my day job. As for the next order of business is the attorney's report, the general counsel report for the past year. And of course, what we've been doing with Pete and your offices is working on COVID all the time. Employment issues came up, labor issues, public health, tort liability, and workman's comp, some of the issues that have already been discussed today. The second major thing that we worked on in the last year, and we will be working on next year, concerns another issue that you discussed this morning, and that is the appeal of the DEP's surface water quality standards, the 600 additional river miles designated as C1 waters. And Farm Bureau is in the process of filing a motion for leave to file an amicus brief, friend of the court brief, and we will be setting forth the reasons why we are opposed to those regulations. Other issues I'll just run through because they were so extensive this year, and I'll just mention them briefly without explanation. These are the issues that we worked on with your officers and with staff. Agritourism, bears, contracts of various kinds, corporate governance issues, County Board of Agriculture planning issues, and continuing education for the county boards, deer matters, eminent domain questions, equine issues, H2A, hemp, hunting liability, labor, landowner liability, and these are issues that Pete and I and Reich have talked about during the year. Landowner liability, parliamentary procedure, pesticides and herbicides, pine lands, real estate issues, redevelopment, service animals, solar, taxation issues, trespass matters, zoning and land use disputes. Let's see, the next order of business. Go back to the packet. The elections. We have two offices up for election for 2-year terms. This year it's the president and the second vice president. And with regard to the president, there was a nominating committee. Brian Porch where's Brian?
In the back.
Brian? Brian? You're the chair of the nominating committee. Do you have a nomination for president?
Yes, we would like to nominate Reich Sedan.
Okay. Are there any nominations from the floor? Hearing none. Hearing none. The nominations for president are closed. And I'd ask the secretary to cast a unanimous consent vote for Reich Sedan as the president for a 2-year term. Reich, congratulations. It's your chance to provide us with brief acceptance comments.
There we go. Well, thank you, everybody. It is a pleasure and honor to be your president. This will be my last term. The bylaws of the New Jersey Farm Bureau allow me to continue for one more term based on my presence on the American Farm Bureau Board of Directors. But thank you for your confidence. I will make the next 2 years as carefree as possible for you guys, and work with the directors and the staff to keep Farm Bureau doing positive things. But thank you for your confidence.
Thank you, Wright. The next office that is up for election is the second vice president. And again, Brian, did the nominating committee have a nomination for second vice president?
We would like to nominate Steve Janney.
Okay. So Steve Janney has been nominated by the nominating committee for second vice president. Are there any nominations from the floor? Hearing none, the nominations for second vice president are closed. And I'll ask the secretary, Pete, to cast a unanimous consent vote for Steve as our second vice president. Steve, it's your chance for acceptance remarks.
Technology. Thank you for your confidence in me. As Reich said, we'll work to keep things moving. Reich leads a great team that you guys have put up here. Staff is wonderful. They're great to work with. They do a lot of the work, and they're really good too. Again, thank you, and look forward to serving you, and it's an honor to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. The next order of business is the election of directors and alternates. In the packet, you should have that list. I see that one last minute change in Somerset. The alternate, well, the director is Ken Osterman, and in place of Rick Norris, for alternate from Somerset County, we have Matt Puskas? Okay. Never been great on pronunciation. I believe we need a motion for this. I'd entertain a motion for the nomination of the directors and alternate directors to the New Jersey Farm Bureau Board of Directors for 2021. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Okay. Are there any nominations from the floor? Hearing none. Nominations of directors and alternates are closed. And I'd ask that the secretary enter this by unanimous consent. Okay. Election of delegates and alternates from the Women's Leadership Committee to the American Farm Bureau Federation annual meeting. And according to the Federation's bylaws and the memorandum of understanding, these delegates are prescribed. I'm sorry, this one, delegate, oh yeah, no, these are prescribed, yep. The president is the delegate, and the first vice president is the alternate. We can proceed here by unanimous consent or acclamation. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That matter is resolved. The next item on the agenda is the election of delegates and alternates from the Women's Leadership Committee to the Federation's annual meeting. Reich, you've done that one in the past?
On women's leadership?
Yeah. Okay. Acclamation. Carolyn Etch. There's a nomination for Carolyn Etch. Are there any nominations from the floor? Hearing none, Carolyn Etch, congratulations. You've been elected delegate to the Women's Leadership Committee to the Federation. I think that's the conclusion of the my part in this proceeding. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lou. And your joke didn't suck. So with that, we're going to go back to resolutions. That'll take us right up to lunch. Unless Mr. Blake Klatskin arrives, then we'll go into executive session or a closed session. Oh, he is here. You're early. Okay, with that, let's do that. Come on up, John. John Blake of Klatskin & Company share with us financials. And with that, we will cease we did cease the live streaming. You guys can hear me outside? Come on in. I do want to point out that we will be serving lunch right where you're sitting now. That's why the setups came out to you. We're not leaving the room. Everything's going to be a plated lunch and served to you right where you are. So we don't need to go anywhere for lunch. You want to stand up and walk around, of course, we can do that, but I just wanted you to understand that to do this more safely, it was decided that we stay right in this room, stay here. We're going to have lunch right here, and then we'll, when we finish resolutions, you guys can skedaddle, except for the board of directors are going to stick around for their meeting thereafter. You ready, Liz? Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, food safety, page 37 on the bottom. Very small businesses, those with more than 25,000 but no more than 250,000 in average annual produce sales during the previous 3-year period took effect 1/26 of 2020. On page 38, food traceability, add in there, FDA released in September 2020 a proposed rule that if finalized would impose additional traceability record-keeping requirements for certain high-risk foods. This rulemaking is required by Section 204 of FSMA and is an additional action in FDA's ongoing FSMA implementation. At the core of this proposal is a requirement for those who manufacture, process, pack, or hold foods on the food traceability list, FTL, to establish and maintain records containing key data elements, KDEs, associated with different critical tracking events, CTEs. The proposed rule also would require that records be maintained as either original paper records, electronic records, or true copies. They all must be legible and stored to prevent deterioration or loss. Traceability records be provided to FDA as soon as possible, but not later than 24 hours after a request is made. An electronic sortable spreadsheet containing relevant traceability information be provided to FDA within 24 hours of a request when necessary to assist FDA during an outbreak, recall, or other threat to public health. There are some exemptions, full or partial. Full exemptions include small retail food establishments, small farms less than 25,000 in sales, farms selling food directly to consumers, certain food produced and packaged on a farm, food that receives certain types of processing, and transporters of food. Partial exemptions would apply to certain commingled raw agricultural commodities, not including fruits and vegetables, subject to the produce safety regulations. Fishing vessels, retail food establishments that receive listed food directly from a farm and farm to school and farm to institutions programs. The FDA proposes that any final rule on additional traceability, record-keeping requirements for foods on the FTL would become effective 60 days after it is published in the Federal Register. The rules comment period will expire on January 21st, 2021. No other, Mr. President, I move this resolution.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Got a second? Any discussion on this resolution? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Okay, the motion carries.
Biosecurity and emergency management. On page 40, new language, COVID-19. With the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus, the state's emergency management system shifted from the typical weather and natural disaster modes to its first health emergency. This put the Commissioner and Department of Health as the lead policymaker for the pandemic and the state's response. The superintendent of the state police is the lead enforcer of the recommendations. This command structure is implemented when the governor declares a health emergency and implements the Health Emergency Powers Act. As part of the National Emergency Management Response established in the Department of Homeland Security, agriculture is considered an essential industry, important for food security. New Jersey uses the same system. What was not clear was how this impacted the diverse sectors of New Jersey agriculture. Farm markets and farms producing food and livestock operations were encouraged to remain open. The administration also recognized the importance of the ornamental horticultural sector and garden centers and the nursery industry were allowed to operate. The need to care for animals meant most livestock farms could operate, but for the equine industry, racing and riding were curtailed during the stay-at-home order issued in March. Those sectors reopened slowly as the state's response shifted to allowing outdoor recreation. In May, additional guidance came from the Department of Health related to practices farms should implement to protect farm worker health and safety. These guidelines applied to all farm employers and employees and covered many of the same practices already outlined by the CDC and the New Jersey Health Department for essential workers in the food industry. Wearing of masks, social distancing where possible, screening of workers for symptoms, and guidance for housing workers. Farm Bureau spent much of the early summer working with Rutgers Cooperative Extension and the New Jersey Department of Agriculture, educating farms about the guidance and the need to comply. As summer progressed and additional on-farm activities were allowed to happen, there formed a clear distinction between the food production side of agriculture and the entertainment side. Tours, hay rides, summer camps were permitted with proper social distancing and the following of administrative orders from Health and State Police Superintendent. These orders ensured that farms could safely plan for a fall harvest and tourism season. Though most farms have worried about and experienced animal health outbreaks from severe strains of avian influenza in bird populations and African swine fever in swine, which has been impacting the global pork supply, including up to 60% of China's production. The COVID-19 pandemic has made farms plan for not only how to operate in an emergency, but how to protect their family, their employees, and their customers while providing essential products for the state's food system. This planning takes farm biosecurity and emergency management planning to a new level. Stricken language. Mr. President, I move this resolution.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Okay, motion carries.
Equine industry. Page 41, New Jersey benefited from a strong horse racing industry supported by attractive purses and breeder incentive programs. These programs supported local breeders and owners and attracted out-of-state owners to train and race at our tracks and in-state facilities. Stricken language, page 42, new language. After a 4-year decline in total wagering across all 3 of New Jersey's horse racing tracks, 2019 saw an increase of over $50 million bet at the tracks. A further increase in the total wagering was driven by betting from outside New Jersey, which increased by nearly 54 million. These numbers demonstrate the turnaround horsemen were looking for from the commitment by the state. In addition, because of the state incentives, the industry has seen an increase of standardbred mares being housed in the state from 24 in 2014 to 740 in 2019, with most of the growth in the last 2 years. In the thoroughbred industry, steady increases in mares, stallions, and foals born in the state in the last year have reversed years of steady decline. 2020 will be a mixed bag for the horse racing industry. COVID-19 reduced racing days at the Meadowlands Racetrack and Freehold Raceway, with the loss of half the winter race season. The shutdown delayed the opening of the summer season at Monmouth Park. With COVID-19 protocols in place, there has been limited live audiences at the tracks. This will impact the revenue generated from live betting. In a final budget adopted to take the state into 2021, the legislature and the governor continued the supplemental payments to the industry, but a reduced level funding the program at $15 million. The state and industry must continue to further strengthen the racehorse industry and horse breeding and New Jersey bred breeding programs. Jersey owned and Jersey preferred races should be written regularly on the race cards. Federal legislation, new legislation called the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Act of 2020, S 4547, was recently introduced by Senator Mitch McConnell, representative of Kentucky, and passed the House of Representatives in September. HR 1754 could have major impacts to the harness racing industry here in New Jersey. The bills provide for the federal regulation of medication and testing, forcing privatization of that process at the federal level with the United States Anti-Doping Agency for the first professional sport in the United States. U.S. ADA program has always been limited to human athletes. The bills provide for a limitless, discretionary, undefined, and underfunded program. If enacted, the new law would, 1, significantly increase your cost of racing, 2, eliminate the use of race day Lasix, a treatment for exercise-induced pulmonary hemorrhaging, bleeding for all horses. The issue of Lasix needs additional study before a federal ban would go into effect. 3, place harness racing under regulation of a new federal authority with little or no harness racing representation or consideration for that industry's concerns. Mr. President, I move that this resolution.
We have a motion. Is there a second? We got a second. Any discussion? Jeff Byrd, front, please.
Thanks, Ed. Jeff Byrd, Mercer County. Just a quick question. Is Farm Bureau, they're making a statement about what the federal regulations are. Do we support that or are we opposed to that? From the negative, from a layman's perspective, it would have a negative effect on horse racing in New Jersey. So I'm assuming that would be that Farm Bureau would be opposed to this federal regulation.
I'm going to pitch it to Ed in a minute, but I'll give you briefly that we're opposed to anti-doping. We're opposed to doping horses, no doubt about it. LASIK has proved to be effective for years, but I'm not the expert at this. Ed, can you shine some light on it?
So where the harness racing industry is right now is they're trying to get amendments to the bill to get them representation on the new board that's being created, which they don't have. So we were supportive of their efforts, but because our thoroughbreds love the bill, we haven't taken a position one way or the other. We're laying out what the problems are. And if they could get addressed, I think we would be supportive, but we haven't gone that far yet.
Any other discussion on the resolution? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Commercial fishing. Page 44, New Jersey Farm, third paragraph down. New Jersey Farm Bureau shall support joint marketing program of both aquaculture and commercial fishing products within the New Jersey seafood program. Page 45, stricken language. More stricken language on page 46. Mr. President, I move this resolution.
Motion, is there a second? Got a second. Any discussion? Ned?
Ned Gain, Atlantic County. Page 44, in the bold statement, I'd like to change the word Jersey Seafood Program to New Jersey Department of Agriculture. I have several motions, so I think we do one at a time.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're on the third paragraph on page 44. Okay, I follow you. All right, so let's do these one at a time. We have a motion to delete seafood program and input Department of Agriculture. Is there a second? I'll second. Got a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of changing this wording, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries.
I'd like to delete two sections in the bullet points on page 45. The first bullet point, proposed coastal commission, that does not exist, so we can delete that whole bullet. And then the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The seventh bullet down, the last sentence, there is a package of bills permitting the process, sale, shipment of wild-caught striped bass. That doesn't exist either. I'd like to strike those as well as just the subtle change of a few years ago, which is time dependent and obviously doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, did we go over shall and should?
No, I'll make that as a separate motion. I think it's.
All right, so we're deleting coastal commission at the top of the page.
Correct.
There we go. Well, it's on the top of my page. And then, I'm sorry, further down, where was it deleted? There we go.
Striped bass, it's highlighted.
This package. And you want to delete that, help me, why do we want to delete supporting?
There's no package of bills.
There's no package facility.
I mean,
No, package of bills. There are no bills.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Needs anymore.
this statement is not true.
I follow you. All right, so we have a motion for this deleted language. Is there a second? We got a second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Keep going.
1, 2, right in the middle, the shall. I'd like to change that word shall to should initiate. Just to soften the language a little bit. I think that's a greater discussion amongst the community, and I don't think it should be forceful as shall.
Can we do that by common consent? Unless there's any opposition? Okay. So we'll make that one word change.
And the last is a removal of a paragraph towards the end of the policy, the last large paragraph. And yes, a New Jersey Farm Bureau is underway in bringing commercial fishing issues to the American Farm Bureau Federation. This is all old business and just no longer needs to be discussed. So I'd like to remove that as well.
I'm sorry. This is, on what page are we?
46, last big paragraph.
Okay. It is kind of old news. So we have a motion to delete that paragraph. Do we have a second? We got a second? Any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carried. Back to the resolution as a whole. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries. So let's let's keep it going, folks. We got 15 more minutes to lunch. Can we do that? I know it's starting to drag a little. Okay, we're getting there.
Aquaculture development, stricken language, page 47, stricken language, and then new language, New Jersey Farm Bureau shall support a change to the New Jersey Aquaculture Act, modifying the composition of the Aquaculture Advisory Council to provide greater industry representation on the council. Therefore, New Jersey Farm Bureau shall support the elimination of ex officio seats on the Aquaculture Advisory Council of entities that no longer exist. Some more stricken language, and Mr. President, I move this resolution.
Well, Steve, let's just read that last paragraph for me, will you?
Oh, I'm sorry. New Jersey Farm Bureau shall continue to research aquaculture issues. I apologize.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, so we have a motion. Is there a second? Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Renewable energy. Page 48, new language. In several of the New England states, with Massachusetts leading the way, the concept of dual-use solar is expanding. Dual use is a policy of requiring agriculture use to continue on the land where solar projects are approved. Most of these projects are under 6 megawatts and work with the landowners on siting and system design depending on the types of crops being produced. The University of Massachusetts is studying the crop production yields under the different arrays. For New Jersey farmers to be able to use the same program changes would need to be made. To existing rules for renewable energy on farms, expanding the 2 megawatt limit and the 10-acre cap on land use. These projects tend to be a partnership between the farmer and an energy provider. The energy provider supplies and owns the solar equipment and pays a fixed rent to the landlord for a 20-plus year contract. The company would be required to remove the project if a renewal of terms could not be reached. Down the page a little, some more new language. Farm Bureau should also seek amendments to the legislation on renewable energy on farms to ensure when a project is being done on a preserve farm and the farm's buildings are being used, that the full roof surface could not be used rather than just the portion needed to meet the farm's energy needs. This expansion of solar could bring extra income to a preserve farm situation with no additional impacts to the land use. Industrial scale solar on farmland. Legislation began moving this spring that would authorize the BPU to develop incentives for industrial scale solar projects. This is in response to critics of the Energy Master Plan who feel the state cannot reach the renewable goals in the plan without large-scale solar. In addition to existing projects slated for rooftops and landfills and other first-choice project areas, an additional 17,000 acres of new solar are needed by 2035 to reach the plan's goals. The incentive push came at the same time an 800-acre solar project was being reviewed by Piles Grove Township, Salem County, and a potential for another 350-acre project in a neighboring town. The Farm Bureau Board of Directors discussed the projects at their August and September board meetings and approved a policy position that would require large-scale projects be directed to marginal lands and away from prime farmland. Proposed amendments to the bill would eliminate solar projects in the preservation area of the Pinelands, the protection area of the Highlands, being discussed removing all lands in an agricultural development area from consideration for large-scale solar. This restriction could have huge impacts to property values that in turn extend to preservation values when preserving farmland by removing a comparable sales value. As with any major development project, the County Agricultural Development Board can review the projects and make recommendations based on the project's impact to the agricultural development area, ADA, when a project is located within an ADA. Should the CADBs be used as a review board for large-scale solar projects in a region for not only the impacts to an ADA, but at other agricultural lands when a project is not located in an ADA. CADBs could also determine the extent of the project's impacts to prime agricultural lands. Some stricken language. Mr. President, I move this resolution.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Got a second. Any discussion? This is ongoing. As I mentioned in my address, that this is yet to be determined, but it's got a lot of our attention, and I'm gonna work with Senator Smith. Yep. Sorry.
Dave Dabo, Salem County. On page 49, the first paragraph, like to strike and the potential for another 350 acre project in a neighboring town. That fell through due to the power company turning it down. So, and then the last sentence I wanted to change around a little bit. New Jersey Farm Bureau will support the right to hold developers responsible to exhaust all other possible lands or properties other than prime farmland to construct large-scale projects. You did. We can add some of that in, just make it flow in there somehow.
Just repeat it again.
Okay. New Jersey Farm Bureau will support the right to hold developers responsible to exhaust all other possible lands or properties other than prime farmland to construct large-scale projects. Yeah. You want me to bring it over to you?
Here's a teachable moment, everybody. If you do have changes and during a break, you anticipate it in upcoming in a resolution, get it over to Liz. She has it ahead of time. It's just,
That's all
it's
right.
a whole lot smoother.
Sometimes I'm faster than others.
Sometimes I write it like 10
I know,
minutes
but I was
before.
gonna just aids in the process.
So we're talking about this one right here.
Yeah, we deleted the line above about the 350 acre project and adding this one. I got that right?
Correct.
All right, we have a motion to delete and potential for another 350 acre project and adding the wording that's in red and highlighted with gray. If I said that right? Comment, Steve?
Shouldn't it be New Jersey Farm Bureau will support the right of towns or the agencies to hold developers? We don't want to hold the developer, do we?
Are you good with that?
What do you want to say, the towns?
How about the BPU?
The authorizing agency?
Yeah, or the BPU.
Is that okay with the motion? How about those who seconded it? Is that good?
How about that? And towns, BPU and towns. That covers, that goes to town for approval or goes to BPU. Municipality.
Yeah, BPU municipality, yeah.
Just say you're good.
How's that look?
I'm good.
Good with it?
Yeah.
And those who seconded? You're good with
Another
it?
hand over there.
Any further discussion on the deletion? Hold on, Bradley. The deletion of the potential for 350 and adding the wording in red that's highlighted in gray. Discussion. Bradley, if you'd stand so you can find it.
Bradley Burke, Warren County. Could we strengthen that language by changing the word right, the right of the BPU to the requirement of the BPU and municipalities to hold developers responsible?
I didn't quite get that, Bradley. Can you say it again?
Right to requirement. Just to strengthen the language, change the word right to requirement.
Requirement. I get you. That makes sense to me. How about you, David? Okay. Any other discussion on the deletion of the, I'll call it the 350 line, and the new wording in red? Okay, seeing none, then we're voting on the amendment only. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Okay, now we're back to the resolution as a whole. Mr. Retch, if you'd stand, please.
Jim Etch, Middlesex County. I'd like to add the line below that in yellow. Encourage the legislature to incentivize farmers to hold prime farmland while protecting their private property rights. I agree with holding prime farmland, but why should someone who owns private farmland be penalized for not seeking the best value, especially at their retirement?
I agree with you, and I think in my annual address, we're all in favor of property rights. But we want to try to incentivize these solar farms to go someplace else. If they choose not to and want to pay big bucks for prime soils, we can't exactly stand in the way of that.
Well, the way I understand it though is...
Give him the mic, Ed, so we can hear.
The way I understand it though is we're asking for them to go away from prime farmlands with no compensation to the person that owns that property. Am I right?
We're asking the solar companies to look at other properties first, but we're not saying you can't buy prime farmland.
But to encourage prime farmland not to be used, why can't we ask for some way to be compensated for it from the legislature?
So we're going with this wording. That's your motion.
Yep.
Is there a second? We've got seconds. Now we're looking at the wording in red, highlighted in yellow. Any further discussion? Okay. Get a mic.
Bob Schuman from Cape May County. You can get money if you put the land in farmland preservation, is what I'm saying. I mean, I agree with you want to keep as much ground as farmland as you can, and I understand you want to keep the rights, but I think we should encourage putting them everywhere else but in farmland is what he's saying, I believe.
I don't disagree with that comment. My problem is if you have a farmer who has no heir and no way to pass that land on, the farmland preservation program takes too long and does not compensate you for the full value of that property the way it would this way.
Understood. Any other discussion? Rick? Just stand up so I can find you.
Thanks, Ed. More or less, Rick Gardner, Warren County. I think we got to be careful because I know I've spoken with non-farm folks in my county, and they see some of the solar farms springing up, and they say, well, what do the farmers want? Double indemnity. We're paying in our taxation for farmland preservation. We want to see the farms stay, and now we see commercial entities coming onto farms. So it's an image issue right now, at least in my area. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Proposed amendment. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay, the motion carries. Back to the resolution as a whole. Any further discussion? Pat?
Thank you. Pat Butch, Monmouth County. I have a concern, and I'm not sure it belongs here, but I think we might be able to put something in here that would address both. I also, where I live in Monmouth County, we have a warehouse issue. Land in agriculture is being put into large warehousing units. Now, we've lost about 600 acres in my area to warehouses in the last year. And I can't disagree with what other people are saying, that we can't take land value away from the farmers if that's their best avenue of sale. However, when I tried, and some of I've had 2 farms that I tried to preserve this year, and both of them fell through because, like somebody else here said, the values for farmland just don't compare with the values that the warehouse people are offering. And we don't seem to be able to use them as comps because that was shot down in the farmland process. So I know solar farms are another issue that go in the same vein. Of course, there's warehousing opportunities in the malls that are shut down and stores that are closing and other places where impervious coverage has already taken over that land. But we still go back to the property rights issue for people that want to sell. But I did have another situation where spot zoning was requested by a landowner, which means that they wanted to rezone. They were asking for a rezoning of their property, which did not allow them to build warehousing. It was zoned for residential and farming and agriculture. It was not zoned for warehousing. And in that situation, I don't think that we should be looking to say to people, well, no, you have to sell within what your land is zoned and what you're allowed to do. You can't go outside of that purview to sell to someone that you're not zoned to sell to. So I'm thinking that this is so complicated. I'd like to see us somewhere put in language that we're going to study this whole situation and come up with a way to value the land so it can go into farmland preservation. We can preserve the farmland and send some of these endeavors elsewhere to use other kinds of property without hurting the property owner. So I think we need to study the whole issue. I don't know where it belongs, but because it's more than energy. This is just energy, and warehousing is not energy. So, but it's taking land out of ag.
Any other discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, this is a resolution as a whole. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Okay, the motion carries. With that, Steve, we are at noon. Hold on a second. What I'm getting at is, that's lunch. However, yeah, we got several other resolutions to do. So I say we break for lunch, then we'll come back and finish up the resolutions, and then I'll cut you loose and we'll do our board meeting. How's that sound? That work with you guys? Okay, so let's do that. We're going to break for lunch now. It is 5 minutes after 12. I'm going to give you a full 30 minutes. Then we'll come back and finish up the book. Okay. And you're going to do lunch right here. So yeah, you can stand up and stretch and whatnot, but they're going to serve us right here. Okay. Okay, everybody, before we get started back into resolutions, I want to touch on a couple of things. Handed out during lunch was the ranking of our policy issues. Everybody got a card like this? Everybody say yes.
Yes.
Okay, everybody got one. I'm going to need you to fill it out before you leave the building. All right, at the end of our resolutions, we're going to take about a 5 or 10 minute break. You guys get to go, the board of directors get to stay. So before you walk out of here, we need these cards from you, please. Okay. Second thing, in your book, toward the back, there's that little divider tab thingy. The third page back is the appeal by the Women's Leadership Committee for some help on their annual harvest drive. They're normally here, have a booth, and make a big deal out of those who donate. You can give a check today if you'd like, or you can mail a check, which is what I did. But I just wanted you to recognize that's there, the good work they do all year long. Need a little bit of your help. So please find that and do what you can. And let's see what else. Also in the back of that book, while you're at it, there was a promotional piece by Farm Credit East. On your table, you saw stuff from our sponsors, which I spoke about earlier today, and they're listed in your program. But in the back of the book was a piece from Farm Credit, which, and next to that was a letter from Rutgers Brian Schilling. Instead of him being here or doing a video, he wrote to us. I'd like to just point that out. Take a moment at your leisure later when you're reviewing the resolutions again, because that's what you do, right? Saturday nights. But please bear in mind, just take a quick read of Brian's letter to us. So with that, I think we're in pretty good shape. And it's 1 minute after 1.
So when you do your top 5 and you're done, just send them to the middle of the room and then I'll collect them.
Okay, where were we, Alan?
We are on page 50, industrial hemp production. Third paragraph, some deleted language and some new. New Jersey had its first hemp growing season in 2020. Though the New Jersey Department of Ag through the New Jersey Department of Ag program, hemp was grown outdoors on 81 acres and currently has 2 acres under glass. There were 59 licenses for growers and 13 for processors. New Jersey Farm Bureau will continue to assist in providing fact-based detail to the membership, legislators, and the public regarding the benefits of industrial hemp production as a suitable and profitable crop for New Jersey growers. New Jersey Farm Bureau will continue to support Rutgers as it further develops its policy for hemp production and marketing. Mr. President, I move this resolution.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Yes, we've got a second. Any discussion on industrial hemp? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next one is USDA, bottom of page 50. New Jersey Farm Bureau believes the focus of the USDA should be on farmers and production agriculture. While it is understood that the nutrition and environmental programs have significant value to our society, we urge the USDA to provide more grants and develop additional programmatic offerings to farmers to ensure the viability of American production agriculture. Mr. President, I move this resolution.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries.
On page 54, climate response and adaptation. Page 55, the top, some adjusted language. Farm Bureau will continue to participate in state and federal events, policy making, or coalitions that address the events. Okay, well, let's finish the one we're on.
Okay, let's finish the one we're on, then we'll back up.
All righty. We were on page 55 at the top. New Jersey Farm Bureau is a member of the New Jersey Climate Alliance, NJCA, and its natural and working land subcommittee. The NJCA is a statewide network of diverse organizations that share the goal of advancing science-informed climate change strategies at the state and local levels in New Jersey. Mr. President, I move this resolution.
We have a motion. Is there a second? We got a second. Any discussion on climate response and adaptation? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carried. Now we go backwards.
We want to go back. Do we have?
And this was on USDA. We'll have to bring it back up.
Roger that. All right.
All right, we'll just keep moving.
Starting on page 55, bioengineered foods.
Wait a minute, here he is.
And, okay,
Now,
we need a motion to,
how do we bring back up, this has been done before, but not often. How do we bring it?
need to have a motion to bring it back, right?
Entertain a motion to reopen USDA. We've got a motion and a second. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Thank you. Okay. What page are we on?
Page 50 and 51. Okay. This is all new language?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for indulging. Yep, so I gave some language to Liz to put in here. And one of the things I felt we should include under the NRCS component is a problem that a number of growers are starting to see, and that is compliance for vegetable growers. You may not know, but there's an updated new methodology that's being used to calculate soil loss on highly erodible ground. And from everything that I'm being told, speaking to the conservationists, you can't qualify vegetable ground no matter what you do. If you're moldboard plowing, making beds, planting radishes or beets or carrots or any of these other oddball things, and then when you're finished leveling those beds, putting a cover crop in, even with contour strips, even with buffers, you're not going to meet the soil loss standards that they're now obliged to use. So it's almost like a don't ask, don't tell situation, except that when somebody complains, because if there's some sort of extreme weather event, then everybody's starting to point fingers, and it's really starting to get ugly. So the official answer is, well, you really got to use no-till. And I said, well, you can no-till sweet corn to some degree, you can no-till pumpkins to some degree, but when we figure out how we can no-till radishes, or no-till spinach, or no-till Swiss chard, then maybe we'll have a workable plan. But until then, how are we feeding people? And what's the answer to the industry? And they honestly don't have it. So they're trying to navigate through this methodology that they're being told they have to use, knowing that they cannot develop a plan that will work on a vegetable farm. So why is that important to vegetable growers? Well, everything that we're doing is tied into compliance for both crop insurance and for FSA programs, which include NAP. NAP's really critical because most of the crops that we're growing are not covered by crop insurance. So if we're not in compliance with our soil and water conservation plan, then the biggest risk management tool that we have, which is NAP, is something that we can't even access. So it's just starting to percolate up, and I thought that we needed to acknowledge that the issue's out there and that we need to be addressing it proactively, and so that's why I put this language in there. So that's the background. And if you've already read the language, I don't know if you did or not. Are you reading it or am I reading it?
Go ahead, you can read it.
Okay, so I'll read it off the board. NRCS has recently started using new models and methodology to determine soil losses on cropland. Compliance with these new standards has been especially difficult for vegetable growers on highly erodible lands. This creates difficulties for crop insurance qualification and FSA program eligibility. Compliance is further complicated by a lack of vegetable growing cultural practices that can be incorporated into a soil loss standard. Vegetable growers are essentially being forced out of USDA program participation. This is unacceptable in New Jersey, where vegetable production is the second largest commodity group. NJFB will work with NRCS state conservationists to modify soil loss calculation methodologies to reflect vegetable growing cultural practices that are available to farmers today that have been proven to be commercially viable. So I offer that as an amendment. I think we don't want more in there. If I wrote that in there, Liz, I think the intent was that we can't be held to practices that don't even exist yet. So thank you.
Okay, so we'll take that as, whose phone is that? Oh,
It's not mine.
Go
It's
get
not
it.
mine.
sorry, Kurt. So that's a motion. Do we have a second? We've got a second. Any discussion on the amendment in red? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of the amendment, say aye. And opposed, say no. Okay, the amendment passes. Back to the resolution as a whole. Any further discussion on USDA? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, again, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, the motion carries.
Thank you. Bioengineered foods on starting on page 55, new language on page 56, bottom. We have some deleted language, and then the bottom has some new. The final rule for labeling bioengineered foods was adopted in February 2019, and the implementation date was January 1st, 2020, but small food manufacturers, 2.5 million to 10 million in gross receipts, could delay implementation to January 1, 2021. Manufacturers can use this time to prepare for the mandatory compliance date on January 1, 2022, when labeling will be required and at least in the last date that preempted state labels may be put into commerce. The standard requires food manufacturers, importers, and certain retailers to ensure bioengineered foods are appropriately disclosed. Regulated entities have several disclosure options: text, symbols, electronic or digital link, and/or text messages. Additional options such as phone number or web addresses are available for small food manufacturers and for small and very small packages. Mr. President, I move this resolution.
I have a motion. Is there a second? We got a second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. President, integrated pest management IPM funding. We move the resolution as it is with the removal of some language at the bottom.
Okay, the motion, is there a second? Any discussion? I think we're just cleaning up some dates here and numbers. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries.
Next, trespassing vandalism starts on page 57. We have a new line added on page 58. Third paragraph from the bottom of the resolution is Farm Bureau staff have updated a fact sheet to reflect these changes. The legislators, wow, is also considering additional legislation to increase penalties for vandalism. Mr. President, I move this resolution.
Is there a second? We got a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Livestock industry support. Starts on page 58. We have a new paragraph on page 59. To address this emerging need, the Hackensack Livestock Auction Cooperative is in the process of seeking municipal approval to build an inspected slaughter facility to facilitate inspected slaughter for their customers so they can sell cuts of meat at retail. Mr. President, I move this resolution.
Is there a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Build an inspected slaughter facility to facilitate inspected slaughter.
That was,
I'm sorry, it's just,
inspected slaughter facility.
we'll go with it.
Facility.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Okay, earlier this morning, we mentioned that a consent folder was in the back here, that we're all in gray. We've only had one request so far. Do I see any other requests to take any others off the consent? The one that's being taken off right now is the New Jersey Agricultural Experiment Station Board of Managers. So with that, we'll bring the board of the, who asked for that to come out of consent? Pat? So we give Pat the microphone.
What page are we on, Al?
Page 89.
Thank you. Okay. The first paragraph, we're asking for Executive Dean and Executive Director of the Experiment Station to be added, that whole title to be corrected. And then we go down to the third paragraph, we're asking for an addition. Oh, this is another one where they requested that SEBS be dropped, except in the last paragraph, that it be NJAES and not SEBS combination, except in the last reference, which we'll get to later.
So wait, hold on.
That is throughout the document. In paragraph 2, you'll see a couple of references there.
Okay, so let's do it as we go along. We
Okay.
Want to delete SES, SEBS everywhere.
Except in the last paragraph, which talks about the ag teachers,
Okay.
that it's needed there. Okay.
My fault. Go ahead.
All right, so that takes care of paragraph 1. Paragraph 2, we're on paragraph 3. Added language at the end of that paragraph. Beginning in 2020, the Board of Managers is requesting each county appoint a non-voting alternate representative to attend meetings, serve on committees, and relay information in the absence of the county's designated representative. Do you want me to stop there or keep going?
To attend which meetings?
To attend the Board of Manager meetings. There's 5 of them a year, and,
County appointed. I'm sorry, yes, all right, I'm with you. Keep
okay,
going. We'll keep going.
keep going. Next one is to add, at the end of the sentence, New Jersey Farm Bureau urges the Board of Managers at their annual meeting with the University President and Board of Governors to give an annual report and to have discussions regarding the prior year's progress and future needs of production agriculture, as well as 4-H youth development, farm, family, and community health sciences, FCHS, and other NJAES mission-aligned programs and priorities. And then to take out the that language there, scratch, and the agricultural industry's appreciation of the receipt for transferred funds, removing that.
Did that complete your?
No, I still have a lot more to go. I don't know how much you,
Okay,
again.
well, tell you what, let's work on what we've done so far.
Okay.
So we don't get too far in. We've deleted SEBS everywhere in the document except in the last paragraph, and we've added the wording in red and deleted the wording in yellow.
No, we're not deleting any yellow. It's actually crossed out. The deletion is crossed out. Oh, I guess, all right, I'm sorry. It was on your screen here, you added it in yellow. There is a couple of yellow things that are,
Well, we're going to work with what's on the screen.
okay, work with what's
We're
there.
adding the wording in red and deleting the wording in yellow. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, that's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion on this part? Yes, Shannon.
As you brought up, that the meetings need to say what meetings. Just to add the word meeting.
To attend Board of Manager meetings.
Yes.
Okay.
You okay with that, Pat?
Sure.
Yeah, we're just, thank you. Okay, good catch. Any other discussion on this amendment? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, this amendment passes. Okay. Pat.
Okay, next paragraph. The Board of Managers shall review any Department of Rutgers Cooperative Extension and specialists' performance when needs, deficiencies, or other concerns are identified. We're adding that one word. Going on to after the next paragraph,
What one word?
we're one word, specialists.
Specialist, okay.
The word was actually there, it just needed to be made possessive. I corrected it. It's
Okay.
grammatical.
Okay, thank
Do
you.
that by consent, thank you.
Okay, on to the end, we want to insert another paragraph after the "we expect the Board of Managers." That stays the same. Adding another paragraph after that paragraph. New Jersey Farm Bureau supports the Board of Managers in revitalizing its statewide committees and its standing committees and deepening engagement with New Jersey Ag Experimentation leadership in an effort to identify current program needs and priorities, increase visibility of New Jersey Ag Experimentation programs and resources, and plan for the capacity needed to meet future mission-aligned programming needs and the significant levels of faculty and staff requirements in the coming years. And then we're going to take out, remove, in the next paragraph, the Board of Managers should work to gain a better understanding of the breakdown of funding from federal, state, and university sources and how these funds are used to deliver programs. So we've reworked the financial piece. So I guess if I continue going to the next paragraph, we've reworked that paragraph and added in differently the financial piece. New Jersey Farm Bureau supports the Board of Managers' quest for supplemental funding over the past 3 years for FY21, $3 million, FY20, $3 million, cut to $1.5 million due to COVID budget crisis, and FY19, $2.5 million, as well as an accounting of the expenditures from the FY20 special purpose funding. Additionally, the Board of Managers continues to petition to grow the state appropriation to NJAES base budget to replace previous cuts and to keep up with the rate of inflation. Increased base budget funds are essential to rebuild lost capacity in several agricultural program areas, staff positions, an effort that cannot be initiated with one-time special purpose funds. So I can go on to the next paragraph if you want.
Go ahead.
I don't want to go on too far, but I don't want to delay the
No,
process.
if there-
Okay,
if
keep
there's
going.
If there's an issue, we'll tackle it.
Okay. This is the one where we're leaving in the SEBS piece. There is a need for additional certified food, agricultural, natural resource teachers, formerly known as agriculture educators or agricultural teachers, due to retirements and an increase in the number of programs. Rutgers School of Environmental and Biological Sciences, as the land-grant college of New Jersey, has traditionally prepared licensed FANR teachers. We support and further encourage the recent effort made by the School of Environmental and Biological Sciences to improve and market the 5-year agricultural science education program that currently exists. Farm Bureau also supports the development of the agricultural education option in the undergraduate major in agriculture and food systems, including the development of courses focusing specifically on agricultural education and efforts made by SEBS to utilize the curriculum for agricultural science education to recruit high-quality undergraduates interested in agricultural careers. And then
Deleting some language there.
deleting some language, going on to the last paragraph, a couple of additions here, and then that will be it. Farm Bureau congratulates the Board of Managers for its work during the past year in advocating for the supplemental funding to NJAES by the legislature and Murphy administration. The educational outreach program to urban legislators and surfacing potential small livestock farm operators. This is in addition to the board's critical function of advising the dean on all NJAES matters, in particular, Farm Bureau, county boards of agriculture will continue to rely on the board's insights added there on county agricultural agents and 4-H and other personnel needs in the wake of retirements. And then we're slashing out and demands for shared services. period. And then the last sentence stays the same.
So you're making this in the form of a motion.
I'm making that in the form of a motion. It clarifies, adds to what's currently happening, and puts everything in a positive light.
We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, of the amendment, say aye. Any opposed, say no. Okay, the motion carries. Back to the amendment as a whole. I'm sorry, the resolution as a whole. Any discussion on the resolution as a whole? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. Alan?
Mr. President, I'd like to move the consent folder.
We have a motion to accept the rest of the consent folder as is. Right, we got a second. Any discussion? Last chance. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, say no. And now we got to do the book as a whole.
Mr. President, I'd like to move the policy book for 2021.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion on the book as a whole? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Good work, everybody. Yeah. The setup was a little different this year with the consent all the way in the back, and we didn't have to skip them. It worked out well. Of course, Alan and the Resolutions Committee did a great job. I'm glad you guys got a lot of this done way ahead of time. It's not 1:30 and we're done. But before I let you loose, just a couple of things I want to cover. Our board meeting, Board of Directors board meeting will begin at 1:45 in the front rows of this room. So if you're on the Board of Directors, you can't go home. You get to spend more quality time with me. Everybody else, I'd like to point out that out in the lobby right now are cookies and brownies and coffee and soft drinks. If you want to hang out in the lobby and chat with each other and get a sugar high, please do. But the Board of Directors needs this room in 15 minutes. Last thing I'd want to remind everybody about their top 5 issues, the card. You can send them to the center right now if you don't mind.